If you're looking to level up your UX, content, or product design practice to confidently and joyfully tackle complexity, ask the million-dollar questions, and design digital systems that actually work, you are so in the right place. Welcome to the UX Level Up podcast. I'm Sophia Prater, and for over a decade, I've been teaching professionals how to make the most valuable and often invisible parts of UX gloriously visible. We will untangle the structure beneath the surface before jumping into screens, saving time, money, and headaches, and having so much fun doing it. Together, let's UX collaboration, break down silos, and build shared understanding that sets everyone up for success. Let's become the systems thinkers that our teams, and quite honestly, the world, are so desperately craving. Let's level up our practice and redefine what it means to be a UX designer. Let's jump into it. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. Do you know about this Hungarian-American philosopher, psychologist? Both psychologist and philosopher. He wrote a book called Flow back in 1990, I believe. This book has been sitting on my bookshelf for 10 years, maybe 15 years, and I have finally started reading it. In all honesty, I am only about 3/4 of the way through, but I love this book so much. I just couldn't wait. I had to make a podcast about what I am learning inside of this book. I will probably make additional podcasts about what I am learning inside this book, but I couldn't help myself. For context, I'm making this podcast on a Sunday just because I've been reading it all weekend in the hammock. I've been taking notes. My mind has been on fire about this book, and I'm like, I gotta record. I gotta get this out. So this is going to be a little casual. I've got some handwritten notes here that I can barely read, but I only took them yesterday, so I think I will still be able to read them. My handwriting usually has about a 1-week half-life. So this book gave me such a holy shit moment because I was like, this is what's wrong with our status quo UX practices. We are not set up to get into a flow state while we were working. We sometimes still do. I'm sure you felt it while you're whiteboarding, maybe even while you're messing around in Figma. You can get into that flow state, and you know what I mean by a flow state, where everything else melts away. Time stops. You are the work that you're doing. You are one with the work. You are one with the universe. You are not thinking about the fight you had with your partner last night. You're not thinking about how annoying your project manager is. You're not thinking about your financial situation. All you're able to think about is the problem at hand, and you are so engrossed in it, and it feels so good. It feels so, so good, right? I'm sure you feel this at work sometimes, but I am betting that it is inconsistent and not reliable, right? So I know this because I felt this. I know what it feels like. Probably the first 5 years of my career, about maybe 5 to 10% of my working life as a UX designer was spent in flow. And I realize now after reading this book, I was like, that's what I was searching for. I wanted more of that. I wanted more of those like beautiful moments where either the problem is clicking into place, the team is clicking into place while they're clicking the problem into place, and all other worries just float away. And it doesn't mean that that's easy. It doesn't mean that like when you're in flow state, everything becomes easy and you're just flowing along and coasting along. No. The problem is exactly gauged to the amount of skills that you have and the specific skills that you have. And that is one of the first ingredients of flow. So I'm going to talk about 6 ingredients of flow state and what is wrong with UX practices today. Why are we kind of set up to fail when it comes to flow? And this begs the question, how can we better set ourselves up for flow? And I've got answers. I've got answers for that. But to back up for a moment, like why do we care about this? Why do we want to get into flow? Based on this guy's book, and not only just on his book, this book is the product of decades of research, longitudinal research, following people for decades, and then this research being reproduced all over the world. There is so much research that goes in to how do we get into flow state? And the research before that was, why do we want to get into flow state? Because that is the definition of optimal experience. This is what makes us happy. This is what gives us meaning in our life. And of course, there's other things that give us meaning, of course, and happiness, right? Safety is important. Comfort is important. Relationships are important. There's a 3-word quote in this book from Sigmund Freud when asked, what is the secret to happiness? And he said, work and love, or it might have been love and work. Those are the 2 things. what I think is also work that we love and work that we can get into a flow state within. Okay, so quick announcement before I get into these 6 ingredients of flow state. If you missed the UX Level Up, that was at the end of March, my big yearly live event. If you missed that, make sure to get on the wait list. We are going to be creating a new version of it. We're taking in a bunch of feedback. It was awesome. People loved it, but we learned, as you do, and we're iterating. And so we're doing a new version. It is going to be not live because I can't do that to myself right now. It was really fun, but it was a lot. It was a lot. I did that presentation 4 times in 2 days, and it's like a 2-hour presentation. We're condensing it. We're going to make it a little bit shorter, more succinct, and we will be re-releasing that. So make sure to get on the wait list over at oaux.com/levelup if you want the new and improved version that will be coming out soon. And I think that's the only announcement I've got. So let's just hop right into it. So let's talk about the very first ingredient. I already touched on that. The very first ingredient of getting into a flow state is you want a perfect match between your skill level and the challenge that you are facing. Like, it's got to be perfect, because if you have a challenge is a little bit over your skills, right? Then you start getting frustrated because you don't feel like you can do it anymore. All right. You want to be stretched, but just enough. All right. And then if the challenge is too far below your skill level, then you're going to get bored. And you know what? I take it back that it has to be perfect. Like, there's probably like some wiggle room here, right? Where especially the more resilient you are when it comes to getting into flow, you can be a little bored, a little bit stretched, and you're still going to be able to maintain flow state. But what we want to sort of be in that pretty narrow channel between frustration that, we can't meet the challenge at hand, that we're kind of set up to fail because our skills don't match the challenge, or bored. And the ironic thing is that so many UXers feel both at the same time. They feel frustrated and bored. How is that even possible? I'm going to get into that in a second. So why does this feel so good, though, when we have this skill challenge match? Because what happens is our full attention gets used. 100% of our attention gets used. There is no room left for distraction or intrusive thoughts. You can't really be self-conscious. You're not thinking things like, am I good enough for this? Should I be doing something else? This is taking too long. You're not thinking about your grocery list. It's almost impossible to get distracted. And all these things, by the way, that I'm talking about here relate back to attention. And I truly believe when we get to my solution for this, this is why so many folks that struggle with attention, have ADHD diagnoses, gravitate to the world of object-oriented UX, because we can help with that. Right? Okay. So that's just a little bit, I'm just planting a seed there, We'll talk about that later. So this feels so good because it almost gets you into a meditative state while you are doing something. You don't have any extra room to think about other things. So it feels really, really good. So the problem I believe that we have with the status quo of UX is that the skill sets that we are given when it comes to the training that we get, and also the tools that we are expected to use on the job, the things that we're actually expected to do are not good enough for the challenges. It's like we have little toy shovels when we need excavators. So screen design is one of our biggest tools. Wireframing, high fidelity prototyping, design systems, using design system and cobbling flows together out of screens. But when it comes to conditional logic, a crap ton of edge cases, complex permissions, even working out business rules, working out requirements, working out contradictory requirements from different teams, like, screens don't freaking cut it. Our skills, even if we can be so good at that, the actual skill is a mismatch for the intense system design challenges that we are faced with. But so how can we be frustrated and bored? Well, what the usual solution for this is, when we have these really big problems that we have to solve, is our PMs, leadership, they divide it up. The best thing that we can think about doing is dividing it up into features and micro features. So everything gets chunked up into these tiny little tickets, right? Or these tiny, whatever you call it in your work, tiny little mini projects, tickets, sprints. And so we're constantly working myopically. We're constantly trying to design a cog in a machine that we don't understand. So we're just looking at one cog at a time, and we're kind of bored of that one cog at a time while also being overwhelmed by the whole machine that we know that cog needs to fit in. But we're told don't really think about that whole machine. What the fuck? So what we end up with is this kind of like existentially horrible place to be in, where we're bored with our work, but we're also stressed out. So UX, the field of UX, I'm sure there's other fields like this, has this really unique nightmare scenario where we are on either sides of flow state. So how do we get to that skill challenge match? We need new skills. We need skills that will equip us for the challenges at hand. Let's go to number 2. Number 2 ingredient for getting into flow state is differentiated, increasingly complex skills that work together. This is differentiated skills, unique skills that are integrated with each other and work really well together. So what this does for us is why this feels so good. According to Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, the author and the researcher behind this study, this feels so good because what this does is it gives us an integrated sense of self. So what this does for us is it gives us an integrated sense of self. To quote, one feels more together than before. So while you're in it, you're not really thinking about yourself, right? Because you are totally one with the task. You're not self-conscious at all. You are in the flow, right? But then after you get out of this state, you're like, oh, that felt so good. And you feel more of who you are. You actually feel like more of a person and like more of a unique individual because you are bringing your uniqueness to these unique skills that all work together in harmony. So I'm going to actually read a passage here from the book. This is on page 41. Following a flow experience, the organization of the self is more complex than it had been before. It is by becoming increasingly complex that the self might be said to grow. Complexity is the result of 2 broad psychological processes, differentiation and integration. Okay, moving down the page a little bit. The self becomes differentiated as a result of flow because overcoming a challenge inevitably leaves the person feeling more capable and more skilled. Go down the page a little bit more. Complexity is often thought to have a negative meaning, synonymous with difficulty and confusion. And a lot in our context is that's how we talk about it. Okay, continuing reading. That may be true, but only if we equate it with differentiation alone. Yet complexity always involves a second dimension, the integration of autonomous parts. A complex engine, for instance, not only has many separate components, each performing a different function, but also demonstrates a high sensitivity because each of the components is in touch with all of the others. Okay, so how does this apply to us? Okay. All right, so what I think the problem here is with the status quo of UX and how I learned UX and what I hear from so many of my students coming into my programs is this idea that the skills feel differentiated, but not enough, and they're not fully integrated. They're not rare enough. Like we hear this all the time. There's a frustration that the PM thinks that they can do our job. The visual designer thinks that they can do our job. The user thinks that they can do our job. Everybody thinks that they can do our job. We don't have this feeling that we are bringing something really unique to the table, which is apparently really, really important to get into a flow state, to feel like you're doing something that others can't do. And that all of those skills are working together in concert, that they're working together. All right. And it's like we have a little bit of research over here. We've got a little bit of visual design over here. We've got a little bit of client relations over here, which is always good to have that kind of broad skill set, right? To be able to navigate professional situations. We want that. But we often feel like all of these skills are kind of like a mess, that they don't actually all link together, or they link together, but they loosely link together. They don't link together into this tight machine. Okay, number 3, goals. We have to have really clear goals, a clear sense of what you're doing is the right thing to be doing at the right time. This is so important for meaning. And I just understand we're going from here to here. What does done actually look like? All right. And instead, what we have in the status quo of UX is we have a lot of questioning. We're like, why am I doing this? Is this even important? Is this even going to move the needle? Should I be doing something else right now? And even, can AI do this? Is this even something that like I as a human need to be doing? So we are usually, and I just remember in my early days, even before all the changes that have been happening the last couple of years, just this feeling of like, are we even moving in the right direction? Why are we even doing this? Does this even matter, right? So this is going to immediately kick us out of flow state. It's going to be actually going to be really hard to get into flow state if you feel like what the work that you are doing, you don't really understand where it's going. Now, people can get into flow state. It's like if you think about a rock climber, rock climbing in flow state, a violinist in flow state, a painter in flow state. Okay, you could even say that amateur painter painting the picture that's never going to sell, or the rock climber climbing to the top of the mountain. What is the real quote meaning in that? We will get there. We will get there. I'm going to loop back around to this. But the thing to really know is that they know when it's done, right? They know when they've gotten to the top of the mountain. They know where they're going. They know that they're trying to finish a painting. Now, always with painting, it's kind of hard to know when it's done, but they'll know it when they see it, right? And they know that part of the goal is to know when it's done, right? So there are clear goals, and without these clear goals, flow state is just going to be real tough. It's going to be an uphill battle. Number 4, and this is directly connected with the goals, is feedback. You really want to be getting constant feedback. Are we getting closer to the goals, or am I moving away from the goal? Like, that's okay feedback too, but I want to know, like, am I getting closer or am I getting farther away? What is actually happening here? And this feels so good because it's actually giving every step along the journey meaning. I can see that I'm getting to the top of the mountain. I can see the portrait coming together. I can see I've been watching Portrait Artist of the Year a lot. Great show, by the way. But you can kind of see the likeness of the person coming closer. And you know the goal is to capture the likeness of that person and potentially even tell a story if you're painting a portrait. If you're a violinist, right? You know every stroke of the violin. You know whether it's hitting or not. You know, ooh, that was a little bit off. That was a little bit not. That one hit. That one didn't hit. And you know the goal is to hit as many notes as possible and get through that concerto. Concerto? I don't play the violin. I don't know. Concerto sounds like the right thing to say. I mean, how often do we feel like that at work? As we're going through the process, you have very clear feedback. Are you going in the right direction? Are you not going in the right direction? So this actually brings me, I'm going to tell the fable of the Bring Me the Rock journey. If you've already heard it, I'm sorry, skip through it. But this is how I felt so often when I was early in my career. And I called it the Bring Me a Rock game. So what I felt like is I would go and I would find a rock and I would bring it to the stakeholders and I'd be like, is this the rock that you're looking for? I took a wild guess. They look at it and they're like, oh, that's really close, but it's like a little too rough over here. And it's a little too lumpy over here. And it's just a little too big overall. Oh, okay. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to find another rock or I'm going to like shave down that rock or like get a bigger rock, or I'm going to go find another rock. I'm going to bring it to them. I'm going to say, what about this rock? Do you like this rock? Is this rock going to solve the problem? And they look at it and they're like, that's actually a little bit farther away than what we just had. I like this piece over here, but like what you had over there before was actually a lot nicer. Can we get some kind of combination between these two rocks? Okay. All right. So then I go back to the riverbed or wherever and I dig in the mud and I find another rock that I'm like, okay, this has aspects of this rock, it has aspects of this rock, and then I bring it back, and of course, that one's not right either, and now I want to throw that rock through somebody's freaking windshield. This is what it felt like, a bunch of freaking trial and error and guesswork disguised as iterations. We use the euphemism iteration, okay? There's iterating strategically, and then there's just trial and error and throwing shit at the wall and seeing if it sticks, and that was so much of my work. I'd go spend I wouldn't get feedback maybe until like the end of the week, or like every couple of days I would get feedback instead of like, as I'm working through the problem, I'm like, okay, I'm getting closer. Number 5. I can't wait to get to number 6. It's so good. So number 5, the 5th ingredient to a flow state, what we need is clearly structured demands or clear rules. So not only do we want to have a clear goal and feedback on whether we're getting to that goal or not, we want to have rules of the game. What are my boundaries? Can I do this? Can I do that? What are the moves that I can make here? And this results in what feels like a game. This is why games are so great for flow state. Whether it's a video game, this is probably why people are addicted to video games, because Mihai talks about this in the book. Flow state can be addictive because it feels so good. Board games, card games, because it has all of these ingredients. It takes a good game. Let me just recap. A good game is going to take all of our attention because our skill is going to be a good challenge. Or it's going to be a good match to the challenge. So if you're playing somebody who's a whole lot better than you, then it's not going to be fun. It's going to be frustrating. If you're playing somebody who's a whole lot more novice than you, it's not going to be fun. It's going to be boring, right? So having a good match, right? Somebody that's an equal match to you, that is the best game, right? Those are the most fun games when you have something that is an equal match because your skill will be a match to the challenge. Okay. If the game has some level of complexity to it, you feel like not everybody knows how to play this game. And then all your skills are coming together. Memory is coming together with strategy, which is coming together with experience. It's all coming together and it's differentiated. You understand your goal, right? To win. And you're getting constant feedback, right? You kind of know, like, am I winning the game? Am I losing the game? You don't always know in every single game, but you know enough, right? You get enough feedback points to know whether you're winning or losing, you're getting better or you're falling behind, right? And then finally, we've got these clear rules of the game. We've got the clear rules of the engagement. Okay, so I'm going to read a passage from the book here. This is page 58. This is one reason why flow improves the quality of experience. The clearly structured demands of the activity impose order and exclude the interference of disorder in consciousness. And down the page, he's got a quote from one of the research participants. The quote says, "Kids my age, they think a lot. But when you're playing basketball, that's all there is on your mind. Just basketball." Right? Because you have very, very clear rules. You know what you can do and you know what your opponent can do. And that feels really good. So what we end up feeling, actually, ironically, is a lack of control. And I know that you felt this way before, where you're like, which tool do I pull out of my tool belt? Am I allowed to do that? Am I not allowed to do that? Should I be doing that? Should I not be doing that? I just need to solve this problem. I just need to UX these screens. So what we do and what we end up doing is we just go straight to screens. We just go straight to our screen design and we often skip maybe some diagramming, maybe some figuring out of the information architecture, maybe even doing a little bit of content strategy. We skip over that because it's like, am I supposed to be doing that? Let's just go straight to the deliverable. The process always feels really hectic. There's really no clarity in making design decisions. Maybe the UX process even feels invisible to you. Or you're just working with insufficient information and there's not clear rules on how you need to get that information, on gaps in your understanding how to get those filled. And really, like, nobody's playing by the rules, right? So there's no rule saying, well, I can't move on to the next step before I fill this gap in my understanding. You're just meant to continue moving on. So it's almost like nobody's playing by any shared set of rules. Okay, the sixth ingredient, y'all, is that even though all of what we talked about is true, the sixth one is the most important. And that is that the activity needs to be intrinsically rewarding. Meaning we are motivated not by external results, not by a pat on the head on the team meeting, not by a 2% pay raise, not by just not getting cut in the next round of layoffs. We are actually rewarded by the work itself. And so many of you probably remember the work being intrinsically rewarding. In the beginning, it was intrinsically rewarding. Maybe even while you were just learning design, it was so fun. And then you got out in the real world and it was miserable, absolutely miserable. And the thing is when you don't have any of the previous ingredients, it's really hard for something to be intrinsically rewarding. So there's another paradox here, right? That like you need to have a clear goal, but also the goal doesn't really need to matter. Okay, so you want to know where you're going. You want to know that you're getting to the top of the mountain, but every rock climber will tell you it's not about getting to the top of the mountain. Sure, the view is amazing. It's about the entire process. That's why they do it. They're not there to just get to the top of the mountains. Then they would just take a helicopter or something, right? Or just look at pictures from the top of the mountain. It's about the process. And the amateur painter, they're not doing it for the maybe hope of getting paid. They're doing it because they love it. They love every brushstroke. And this feels so good because this gives us presence, being present in the moment. Have you ever heard the biggest gift is presence? It's so true. This is why people love meditating, right? Because it helps you tap into the present moment. This is our life, right? This is all we have is the present moment. It's the cliche, enjoy the journey, not the destination. This is what makes life fun and meaningful. It's not all of the checkpoints that we hit. It's not all of these benchmarks that just keep moving. They just keep moving out. We have to enjoy the process. We have to enjoy the climb, not the peak. And we have to know that we would do this work even if we weren't getting paid. How many of you would show up to work and do it anyway if you weren't getting paid? I would. and lots of days I do. Yeah. Okay. So what do we do? What do we do about this? Guess what? Guess what I'm going to say. If you're new to the podcast, maybe you don't know. But if you've listened to like one other episode, then you probably know what I'm going to say. ORCA. Say it with me. ORCA. The ORCA process. Objects, relationships, calls to action, attributes. Is it really that simple? Yes, it is really that simple. Is ORCA easy? No. Is ORCA simple? Yes. ORCA. So let's go through it. Skills to match the challenge. All right. This is your excavator. All right. You need to have a tool to be able to break down complexity, ask really awesome questions, get X-ray vision into no matter how complicated the situation is, you need to get X-ray vision into that system. You need to bring people together around a shared understanding, and you need to turn that into damn good design. ORCA does that for you. It is a process that once you learn it, you got to learn it first, right? You got to actually develop those skills. But once you develop those ORCA skills, you are ready to tackle any design challenge. Not even design challenges, any understanding challenge, like anything complicated. You're ready. You're ready for it. You have got the skills to tackle complexity with grace, with joy, and have fun with it. Differentiated, integrated skills. Oh my gosh, the skills of noun foraging, building a nested object matrix while still understanding indirect relationships and once removed and twice removed relationships, being able to see a junction object from a mile away, being able to understand and break through permissions, apply different actions to different objects based on permissions, understanding object relative roles, so permissions that happen inside of objects. These skills all work together. They all work together. I just rattled off a few. I was just showing off a little bit. All of these skills are so differentiated, yet they apply to any complex design challenge. And you just learn them. You just gotta learn these skills. They're completely learnable. There's nothing magic about them, but they are highly differentiated. They're not easy to learn, but once you do learn them, you start breathing rarefied air. Because most people aren't going to take the time to learn it. They're just going to still continue to bang their head against complex challenges with screen design. That's not you though, right? That's not you. Okay. Number 3, clear goals. Finish your object map. That's the goal. Finish the object map. Prioritize the object map. So of course the goal is to solve the problem, but we know what winning feels like. When we are playing the ORCA game, going through the ORCA process, which literally feels like a board game, when we have the skills to play the game, we know the end goal is to meet the client's requirements, to develop something amazing, to develop something that users love, that is great for the business. But today, our goal might be get through this column of the nested object matrix. Our goal might be finish the object map. Our goal might be prioritize the object map. Our goal might be to translate the object map into object representations. Okay, our goals become very, very clear. Just like the goal in chess is to get to checkmate, right? We understand the goals in the game that we're playing. Number 4, feedback. Y'all, when you're playing the ORCA game, you can almost hear the puzzle pieces clicking into place. Now, sometimes you click some puzzle pieces together and you're like, oh, that didn't click quite right. Let me move that around over here, move it around over here. But you can see the picture emerging. So this metaphor from Andrea Newhoff from years ago that I talk about all the time. And if you've heard it, I'm sorry, I'm going to say it again. What she said, how she described it is before it was like we were all working on different puzzles. All the puzzle pieces were face down. Some of the puzzle pieces were missing. We had extra pieces from some other game that wasn't even the puzzle. And we were trying to solve this problem. And with the ORCA process, it's like, oh, this is still a really difficult problem, but we have all of our puzzle pieces. They're all turned right side up. We're all working on the same picture here, and we can see the picture emerging. So step by step, you can see the progress being made. You're getting constant feedback. You know when you put a nested object and you're like, oh, I'm not really sure about these roles here. Or does this object even belong in this system at all? Of course, the questions are going to be popping up, but you can see yourself getting closer to the answers. And you can see yourself, your understanding emerge. And even if you're working collaboratively, your team's understanding emerge, which is just such a beautiful thing. Okay, number 5, such a given, clear rules. Okay, this is a board game. We got color coding. We've got the little artifacts. One artifact turns into the next artifact, which turns into the next artifact. Literally feels like Tetris or something that you're playing. And that does not take your creativity away, okay? The rules of basketball do not take the athletics out of basketball. And that quote, I want to bring back that quote. When you're playing basketball, that's all that's on your mind, just basketball. You could say the same of Orca. When you're playing Orca, that's all that's on your mind, just Orca. You are in it and it feels so good. Now, of course, you have to learn the rules, just like basketball. You've got to learn the rules. And there will be a rough place in the beginning. Like, you don't just go on the court and then immediately get into flow state. You got to like practice a little bit. And then you're like, oh, I can get into deeper and deeper flow state the more your skills progress and the more you understand the rules of the game. That is the beautiful thing about the Orca process. You can see yourself actually getting better at it. Okay. We have a certification program. We have an advanced certification program. Our advanced certified folks are still improving their craft. They're still sharpening their skills. I'm still sharpening my skills. This is a fractal. You can keep getting better and better and better. And you see the feedback that you're getting better. And the better you get, the more you can get into flow state. If you're new to it, your flow state's going to be a little shaky, right? Because you're still adapting your skills and maybe the challenge isn't quite a match. And maybe you don't understand the rules fully and you haven't been through the process enough. The feedback, you like have that trust in the system and just know like, okay, I am getting closer versus getting farther away. You have to practice. You have to get over that hump for sure. You have to have that kind of dedication. But once you do get there, like experts and professionals all over the world, surgeons, artists, forestry experts getting into flow because of their expertise, because they have that differentiated skill set. Okay, so to wrap up, let's talk about AI for a second, because I really haven't mentioned AI that much at all, maybe. The thing about AI, I believe that there's ways to get into flow with AI. And this is something that I'm definitely thinking about. I think there's a right way to use AI that actually can help us accentuate our flow state. But what I worry is that lazy use of AI or unintentional use of AI, messy use of AI, I'm not sure what the right word is here, but a lot of the ways that we're using AI is kicking us out of flow state. It's definitely not making us feel like we're increasing our skills, and it's not making our skills feel differentiated and like they link together. Because like the skill is just prompting better or like learning this new tool. Like the idea of like getting good at AI, like, okay, yes, like we want to learn the tools for sure. We want to learn how to work with AI, but it doesn't feel differentiated. And it doesn't feel integrated. And I might change my mind on this soon. I'm just going to end with some overarching thoughts on how this is where my brain is going. Maybe this is going to be a follow-up episode, or talk to me on LinkedIn about this, talk to me on the forum about this, DM me on Instagram. I would be really interested to hear your thoughts on any of this. And especially like, how does AI take us closer to flow state or pull us out of flow state? So on page 126, Mihai writes, "It is important to stress here a fact that is all too often lost sight of. Philosophy and science were invented and flourished because thinking is pleasurable." Going down the page, he continues, "External forces are very important in determining which new ideas will be selected from among the many available, but they cannot explain their production. Great thinkers have always been motivated by the enjoyment of thinking rather than by material rewards that could be gained by it." And then moving on to page 127, "The point is that playing with ideas is extremely exhilarating. When a person has learned a symbolic system well enough to use it, she has established a portable, self-contained world within the mind." And that's what Orca is all about. It's an established, portable, self-contained world within the mind. And you'll hear experienced OUXers say, I just listen and I am color coding the things that stakeholders are saying to me. I see these thought bubbles and I'm starting to see like in Queen's Gambit style, like seeing the sticky notes moving around. I don't even have to be writing it down. I'm just seeing the puzzle pieces click together through this notation system. It's a symbolic notation system for problem solving. So I hope this makes you excited to learn more about Orca. If you are new to OUX and the Orca process, go to OUX.com/level up. We got a new free training coming out soon. You just got to get on a wait list for right now at the time of this recording, or check out OUX.com for our other trainings. Also join us in the forum, forum.OUX.com, totally free to join. That's where the conversation is happening. I hope we can talk more about this there or on any other platform. Let me know what you think. Also, let me know, how do you feel? Do you feel like you are getting into flow on a regular basis? If so, how are you doing that? What are the ingredients for you to get into flow? What are the boundaries that you end up building for yourself? I would love, 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 love to continue the conversation. All right, y'all, happy OUXing and have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for listening to the UX Level Up podcast. If you want to connect with me, Sophia, please follow me on Instagram at SophiaVUX, or you can find me on LinkedIn, Sophia Prater. I'm pretty easy to find there. Our music was brought to you by Ruby Vel. courtesy of Sugaroo Records. Thanks again for listening.